Welcome back to the Centered on Buffalo podcast. This week, we are joined again by Dan Orlovsky, one of my favorite analysts out there. You can find him all over ESPN. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, Mina Kimes absolutely crushed it. I also did a solo podcast. Expect to hear one of those later again this week. We've been picking up a ton of new subscribers, and we appreciate all of you. If you haven't already, please like the podcast, subscribe wherever you tune in weekly, whether that's on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms. Enjoy this episode. Dan, welcome back on the show, brother.
It's good to be back with you, man. I know anybody that I come in contact from up there right now is pretty excited that the season's still alive, and I'm sure you are. So good to be back, man.
Let's start here. Of all these playoff matches between the Chiefs and the Bills, is this Bills team the best suited to go into Arrowhead and win this game?
I think it's the best suited, yes, because one, they are way more willing and capable to run the football and control the game. They weren't that there last year. They obviously Joe was still on the back end of taking over. They're way more willing and capable of doing it. I also think Kansas City's a little bit more vulnerable to it this year. And I think there's one very specific time when they're even more so vulnerable to it happening. Um, I think that the plethora of pass catchers that they have and the kind of the they're 5 or 6 deep with who they can get the ball to and make something happen. They're not superstars, but the variety of people they have is the most capable of it. Obviously, Josh is in the most control of his game. I think defensively, the consistency that they can play at and the takeaways that they can try and generate are probably the best that they've had. So this is their best shot in the Josh Allen era for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talked about how the Bills are willing to run the football, control the game, and the Chiefs have gotten there as well, where they lead the league in 10 plus play drives, time of possession. I mean, this could be a game where teams have 6 possessions, and then it becomes who doesn't make the mistake because, I mean, both
Exactly.
teams could potentially suck the life out of this game. And then defensively, this is the also now we got Rap to worry about this week. Christian Benford's in concussion protocol. It didn't seem like a big hit. You'd likely think he's back, but this is also the healthiest that the Bills defense has been in the playoffs when facing Mahomes in this group. So that should help. One guy who's been an Achilles heel in the Bills side, and also everyone else in the playoffs is Travis Kelce.
Kelsey.
He goes off
Yeah.
last week, goes for over 100. I saw earlier you put out on X, 66 catches on 77 targets. How do you take him away in the playoffs?
uh, you know what? I don't know if you can. I think you have to situationally try to, but also, it's math. You only get 11. So
Right.
how can you situationally try to take him away while also not exposing or weakening yourself somewhere else? And that's going to be the big challenge with them defensively. Obviously, in those crucial moments, the third down and shorts, the red zone situations, and when you try to make it the most difficult, I think the best way to try to take him away is you try to disrupt the realistic timing that Patrick can get him the football now and later. So, one, can you marry making his release off the line so difficult that it allows the rush to get against one of those tackles while also knowing that the second play is going to happen and what's the best way to defend that second play, meaning when Patrick moves either up in the pocket or out of the pocket, how, how do you go about handling that and not hitting your back? Because like the touchdown pass he has last week, he totally makes that up. That's not even real football. It's just it's recess, it's green grass, it's playing tag almost. And so the awareness of having to plan for that is a huge challenge. And I, it's a lot easier said than done. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. I had Chad Henne on the podcast one time, just getting his perspective on their offense and Travis Kelce. And he was saying that a lot of times, yes, Travis has a route that he needs to run, but him having so much experience at tight end, his quarterback background, understanding coverages, understanding what teams like to do against him, he has the free will to break something off as long as it doesn't compromise the entire route structure of the play. And so he can break stuff off. And he said it's amazing when he goes to do it. Patrick knows by the way he kind of sits and takes his hips one way, he's going to come out the other way. And so it looks like an untimed, curl route right in the middle of this defense that's fallen back into a two shell. But he might have been going down the seam right at one of the safety. It's like he'll break that off and Patrick Mahomes adjusts to it. So it becomes even more difficult when you think that you got a great play designed defensively to be able to take away their route concept tendencies out of this formation. And then all of a sudden he breaks it off. And Patrick Mahomes acts like that was the design play. And you can do that when you play with the guy as much as they do.
Yeah, I think the thing too is you can't it's the reason why he's almost impossible to defend with Patrick is both of them know where the weakness of a defense is. Every defense has a specifically zones. There is, I mean, there's soft spots in them. So those guys will both, and Travis specifically, he just won't even run his route. He'll know like, okay, I know where the soft spot is in the zone. You know where the soft spot is in the zone. You're going to protect against that soft spot. So I'm going to kind of hint to me going to a different area that you might have to also guard against while also freeing up the actual soft. It's like they constantly just chase vacancies. It's almost very college air raid, Mike Leach vibe to it, where like there's not actual route, you're just chasing grass. And I think that's kind of why they're so difficult because you don't really know where he's going to go.
Let's take a moment to hear from one of our sponsors, and that's Dano's Seasoning. Dano's has been crushing it with their line of seasonings that will make you the hero at your party this weekend for the playoff games, these championship games, Super Bowl parties. Go check out the collabs we did together on Instagram, all those recipes, the wings, the queso dip. Those are absolutely incredible. Go check them out at danoseasoning.com or a retailer near you. All right, so kind of off topic, not specific to this game. What do you think of this trend of adding extra offensive linemen on the field this year? The Bills have run it more than anyone else in the entire NFL. Ravens do it a ton. A lot of teams are getting to this. Is this simply attacking defenses that have gotten smaller, or what's your thoughts on this new trend?
I have no idea why more teams haven't done it. I think it's twofold. One, yes, teams, have gone lighter and out more athletic, and they want, pass rushing defensive linemen, and they want backers who can cover and run sideline to sideline. And I get all that. And then I think the second thing is because of the way the offensive game has trended, a lot of tight ends are pass catching tight ends first. They want to be the athletic tight ends that are the kind of in that Kelsey mold where they're the big slot wide receivers. And so, when you want to run the football and you don't have a tight end that can really do it in a way that is needed at the point of attack, you're limited with what run game you can get to. Well, we really like this run game versus this defense. Our tight end can't block it. Like, then okay, well that run game's out. So instead of just throwing it out or calling it just to call it, knowing that you don't have the guy to block it, just call it with the offensive tackle and get the run started. Give yourself the opportunity to get the efficient run, and you got to have enough off of it, obviously, to
Yep.
make sure that it's not um, overly predictable. But yeah, I think that it's been super smart by Joe because I mean, Wood, you know this. A lot of times, what the Eagles are doing in their run games not normal. It's not normal. You're calling runs to, give a break to your quarterback, your skill players to be efficient, to get into second and manageable situation, to allow your offensive line to lean on guys. So you're just more than likely trying to get 4 or 5 yards. But a lot of times, because you don't have good blocking tight ends, the run doesn't even get started.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's so we'll throw it out. Well, give the play a chance to get started in the run game. And I think that's one of the reasons why Buffalo's been so good at it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And you could run play action off of it instead of having Dawson Knox in that situation. You have Alec Anderson out there in a pass blocking situation. Some of your longer developing routes down the field, put an extra alignment out there so you have the threat of the run. Also, you get a guy like Alec Anderson who's never started for the Bills hundreds of snaps this season to
Sure.
where when someone goes down, you have a guy with a bunch of game experience. And not
Yep.
that you want to play that game or overly lean into it. It's just been an added benefit this year. David Edwards missed some snaps in a game recently, and Alec Anderson fills in. and it seemed seamless. And I don't know if it's as seamless if he doesn't get all those meaningful reps throughout the regular season. Of course, he's playing tight end in those situations, not playing left guard, but it's a different speed than Alec Anderson's ever seen throughout his career. So value there as well. All right, last one for me. Have you made your picks for these two championship games yet? Who you think's going to represent each conference in the Super Bowl?
I have not made my picks yet. I'm sure I'll have to do it a couple times throughout this week. I feel pretty good, about the Philadelphia Washington game. I think Philly wins that game just because obviously their ability to control the run game, and I think their defense will play a little bit less blitz happy than they did last time they played Washington. That's one of the reasons why Jaden Daniels had so much success, was he killed their blitzes. So I think Philadelphia can run the football and win that game. Um, the Buffalo, I was torn with the Buffalo Baltimore game last week. I'm just sitting there going, gosh, dude, one of these teams is going to get upset. When does it happen? You know, um, I could see that game going either way. I will say this. I agree. I think this game comes down to, in the fourth quarter, what quarterback doesn't make the play. Not makes the play, who doesn't make that one hold on too long, fumble, or float the ball as you're getting hit into zone coverage, or force the ball into a window. What quarterback doesn't make that one mistake that they have been so good at this year? I think that determines the game. Hey, listen, I love Buffalo. It's tough to go down there. It's tough to go down there and beat this team, the way they're playing and what's on the line for them when it comes to history. But this is the best chance Buffalo has to do it.
Yep, I agree. Arrowhead's an animal, and then their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, only amplifies the effect of Arrowhead. Like, yes, when you can't communicate and it's tough even calling plays in the huddle at Arrowhead, that's one thing. When you get to the line of scrimmage and he knows that you can't communicate and he shifts the defense late, he shows slot pressure and you can't get out of it. So you almost have to eliminate some of your check with me's and get it to more here's our answers. It
Yep,
might be a traditional under center RPO play, just some different things that you have to, kind of get out of your normal script because of the crowd noise and the defensive coordinator. But I'm with you. I could make a case for either team last week with Bills and
yep,
Ravens, and then the exact same this week.
yep. I will say this because it will be, if they can control early downs like they did last week, it will go such a long way to erasing all those issues. But if they, struggle on early downs, they can't control line of scrimmage, and they get into the little bit more obvious passing situations, it's a huge advantage for Kansas City. I think the really interesting thing would be, does Kansas City blitz them like they did up in Buffalo? Because they just came after them, and it felt like Buffalo was like, "Dear God, please come after us because we're
Yep.
ready for it." How does Kansas City go about handling that part? Will be another huge factor.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Dan, thank you so much for your time. Hope to
Of
see you
course,
down
bud.
in New Orleans. Hopefully, the Bills will be down there and we'll catch up down there. It's always good seeing you. And thanks again for coming on.
You got it, buddy.
Let's give a quick shout out to our friends at bluecheesemafia.com. This shirt I'm wearing right now, one of my favorites. Been rocking them all year on the podcast. People have loved them. Thank you for all of you that have gone out and supported them. Follow them on social media at Blue Cheese Mafia, and then go to bluecheesemafia.com. Go get yourself one, get a friend one, and enjoy it. Go Bills.